I like the idea.
You know, today the reason you are here, not just to write the Hanukkah, but also because you'll be getting the Mensch Award for writing the lyrics to Exodus.
Yes.
Speaking of the lyrics to Exodus,
this land is mine. God gave this land to me. This brave, this ancient land to me. And when the morning sun reveals the hills and plains, then I see a land where children can run free. Until I die, this land is mine.
Pat,
Thank you.
Come on up here, please.
Okay.
We can see you better. Pat, you are a mensch. You are a mensch for doing what you do for the state of Israel. In your heart, I know how you feel about Israel.
Yes.
And I'd like to give you this Mensch Award.
Beautiful. Really beautiful.
You exemplify humanity, the best of humanity. And we thank you for everything that you've done, and especially for having written the song after the film was made.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'd love to, Stephen. I had read Leon Uris' book, Exodus. I was thrilled by it. As a little boy growing up in Nashville, Tennessee, my dad, a building contractor, and my mother, a registered nurse, very practical professions. But we went to church. We loved the Bible. Dad would read the Bible to us kids, and we knew that we were reading, whether we were reading in Genesis, Exodus. We didn't read Leviticus and Deuteronomy all the time because we didn't understand all of it then. But then on into the New Testament. But we knew that we were reading about Israel. We knew we were reading about Jews. We knew that the one that we believe is the Messiah is Jewish. It was all Jewish. Everything we were reading about was Jewish. So I felt a kinship, and when I read Leon Uris' book and then saw the movie with Paul Newman and Eva Marie Saint and the others, I was absolutely thrilled, and I heard that melody, boom, 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 boom. I said, I've got to sing that. I've got to sing it. So my manager contacted the publisher, Chapel Music, and he said, there won't be any words. Why? Well, because there are 3 men who have a right to approve or veto any lyrics, and we've had professional writers submit lyrics for that melody. It was already becoming a worldwide hit by Ferrante and Teicher, the piano duo. They were just an instrumental team. And the one or another, whether it was Ernest Gold, the composer of the melody, Chapel Music, the publisher, or Otto Preminger, the producer director of the film, one or the other or all 3 would say, no, those aren't the words. They don't fit the melody. We don't accept them. So there's not going to be any words to the song. It's just going to stay an instrumental melody. Well, I couldn't accept that. I wanted to be able to sing the melody.
You must be very Jewish that you wouldn't accept that.
That's right. And so it was a Christmas Eve. And this, I'm not making this up. It was Christmas Eve, and we were living in a rented home in Bel Air. I was making a movie in late '59. And the movie was a big hit. The song, the melody was a big hit. And I was playing the Ferrante and Teicher piano record to get an idea to submit to a professional writer. I hadn't written any songs at that point. And I wanted to be somebody to write the lyric. And so Shirley was saying, hey, please help me get these presents under the tree so we can go to bed. Come on, Pat, come on. But I said, wait, let me one more time. And I put the needle down on the record, boom, 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 boom. And words came in my mind. This land is mine. And I realized that's the whole story, those 4 words. If just those 4 words is the story of Israel. And then boom, 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 boom. God gave this land to me. And wow. And it's like I took dictation. I grabbed something and started writing the words down so I wouldn't forget them. And in about 20, 25 minutes, as I kept playing part of the melody, and then words would come, and more of the melody, more words would come. You just heard them, you know. If I must fight, I'll fight to make this land our own until I die. This land is mine, a personal statement. I think the professional writers were trying to encapsulate, 2,000 years of history into one little melody. And you can't do it. I mean, 2.5 million, 3 million Jews coming across the desert and coming up to Jericho and coming in across the river and so on into the promised land. It's hard to get that into that short song. But if it's a one-person statement, this land is mine. It belongs to me and to I love the Sabra element, so take my hand and walk this land with me. I knew there were women who fought right along with the men in the army. So after I got it written, I went to bed. The next day, my manager contacted the publisher, and immediately Ernest Gold, the composer, said, "Oh, those are the words." And Otto Preminger, "Those are the words." and the publisher, "Yes, those are the words." And so then I recorded it. And then since then, many terrific artists have recorded that song. But then I was at Yad Vashem about 3 years ago. And Shaya ben Yehuda, one of the men running the whole Yad Vashem, and I was in Jerusalem with a tour group. And he came up to me with tears in his eyes. He's got about twice your size, Shaya ben Yehuda. You know Shaya. But with tears in his eyes, he said, "You don't know what the words you wrote in that melody mean to us here in Israel." I said, "Shaya, I believe I do. I identify with you. I know what those words mean." He said, "Well, you don't know this, that we have a campaign underway to make sure that every Jewish child in Israel knows those words that I wrote." Now I cried to think that I knew that I had received those words. I didn't originate them. I just wrote them down. But I said, "Shaya," he said, would you be willing? You must have written those words on something. Would you be willing to let us have whatever it was when you leave this earth? I said, "You can have it now, Shaya, but I need you to know I wrote those words on the back of a Christmas card." That was the thing that was handy, and I grabbed it. And sure enough, he said, "So much the better. We know that you evangelical Christians are our strongest, best friends in the world." I've heard Netanyahu say the same thing to me. And so I said, "You can have it." So a couple of years later, I was back, and I had it framed, and that back of a Christmas card is on the wall of the righteous Gentile at Yad Vashem.
Well, you are definitely the best goy that I know.
Well, I tell you, it means a great deal to me, and that's why my Chai and my Magen David are here, right here. That's what I wear around my neck. People generally know I'm a Christian, so at the gym, where maybe this is all I have on, are these two tokens. Members will say, "Are you Jewish?" I said, "Yeah." "Pat Boone, you're Jewish?" I said, "Yes. And I'm adopted into the family of God's chosen people. I'm an adopted Jew, yes." And I am. That's the way I see myself. That's the way I identified myself. When I was here last, my young daughter, after we went to Israel, one of the 20 times where I've been there, she sang Hatikva in this auditorium. But it was, 30 years ago or so, because she came home from Israel and wanted to learn Hebrew. And she went to Berlitz, which I just learned that several of the guys here tonight actually taught at Berlitz. And so she learned her Hebrew so well that in Hebrew studies at UCLA, one of the teachers said, you know, we have some students here who are not very fluent in Hebrew. Would you tutor some of our Jewish students? And so my daughter was tutoring some of the Jewish girls how to speak Hebrew because she spoke it so well. So we have that long, long history, that identification. Could I tell you one more quick thing?
Sure. About
a little history that I was part of. Because later, some years later, I was in Israel, I was asked after the 73 war was being settled, there were still occasional flurries, but Henry Kissinger was there trying to work out the line of demarcation between Cairo.
He's still here.
Yes, but he was there then, and he was working out the line of demarcation so the war could be officially declared over. And they asked, would you come up to visit our troops, like with the USO? It was the Jewish version. And just encourage them. And I said, sure. So I went up and I had my helmet and flak jacket. I'm in a bunker standing in what was occupied Syrian territory. Because as happened then, as always does happen, when Israel's attacked, her borders enlarge. And that's what had happened there. So we were in occupied Syrian territory in this trench, this bunker. And I was talking with the soldiers, and I asked I told the commander of the outpost, I said, my theory is, just my own theory, is that God wants to restore the borders of Israel to the time of David, at least to the time of David, if not Solomon, but certainly the time of David. So that means more land that's currently in Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan, which is not being used for anything, but it could be the new map of Israel. And the commander of the outpost said, I hope you're wrong. I said, really? Yes, it means more fighting, more shedding of blood. He said, we would give up, this is what the commander said, we would give up some land if it would bring about peace. I said, well, it's just my theory. And so now the soldiers, they wanted me to sing something. I said, well, which ones of my songs do you know? I don't have any music. And like a chorus, they said, sing Speedy Gonzales. Speedy Gonzales, which is a rock and roll song, a big hit of mine. Well, I didn't have any music, so I sang Speedy Gonzales, and they liked it. Then I said, let me sing something maybe more appropriate. So with no accompaniment, I sang, this land is mine, God gave this land to me. And I sang the whole song until I die, this land is mine. For those soldiers, for the commander, everybody that was, and occasionally accompanied only by an incoming shell from over toward Damascus. The ground would shake, and if the soldiers didn't dive for cover, I didn't either. So that was the event that happened. Later, a year later, I was with Prime Minister Rabin in his office, and I told him what had happened about Henry Kissinger trying to work out the lines of demarcation. I was in occupied Syrian territory. He said, where were you? I said, in the northernmost camp below Mount Hermon. Just a moment. He went to the map. He put his finger on the map. He said, you sang a prophecy. I said, I did. Where you sang that night is part of the new map of Israel.
Thank you very much, Pat. Thank you. Thank you very much. And you are a real Mensch. Thank you. I'll put this down for you.
I wear that title very proudly. Thank you.
Judea Pearl, can you please come up to the podium? Danielle Pearl, your beloved son, whose life was cut short, was a wonderful human being. And I don't usually like to do it posthumously, but in this case, I'd like you to take this Mensch Award to honor Danielle and to honor especially the person who gave birth to him, Ruth Pearl, who we lost not long ago.
Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate it. I know that Ruth will consider it very meaningful, and she would thank you profusely.
I'm sorry for your loss not too long ago. And I know how she suffered having lost Danielle. Thank you. Another person I'd like to call to the podium is Mark Blazer. Mark, very few people in the Jewish community of Los Angeles, there are others, but very few, who have done as much as your father Phil did. Phil was a good friend of mine, and I think all of you know the name of Phil Blazer. He was a true Mensch. All the work that he did for Israel and also for the Jewish community here. Please accept this Mensch Award posthumously for your father.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Stephen, for this honor. And it's very special to be here on Hanukkah to spread the light of my father, who continues, and to be with some of his great friends, including you, Pat Boone, who is a tremendous friend and supporter of our network of JLTV and a great friend for my father. And I've had the honor of being with Dr. Pearl many occasions, too, to honor his son as part of the Daniel Pearl Music Days. So this is a beautiful honor. Thank you on behalf of my family, on behalf of JLTV, and thank you for keeping the light of Jewish values alive in our community. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much.